We're at Eurobike. It's the biggest trade show for cycling in the whole of Europe. Yesterday we checked out the best e-bikes of the show, and today we're looking for the best mountain bikes, non-powered ones where you have to pedal to the top of the hill. Let's go see what we can find. Right, so it's really difficult to comprehend how big Eurobike is, but it is absolutely huge. I'm on my second day here. It's about lunchtime. I've been walking around. I don't know how many steps I've done. So many. But I have spied quite a few bikes I want to go and have a look at. But I think I know where I want to start. I'm going to go and find Gates, because I'm pretty sure they've got a few pretty tasty downhill bikes on their stand. So let's go find it. Right, so in 2025, you couldn't expect me to come all the way to Eurobike and not go to the Pinion Gates stand and have a look at some Gearbox bikes, because there's some pretty cool ones here. First up, Hattie Handen's Nicolai G1 GPI. Now this is the bike that she raced at the first round of Petra Ligure EDR early this year, number 44. Yes, she's racing downhill this year, but she thought, oh, I've got unfinished business, I'm going to go and race enduro. She did it on this bike. True to form, she went and won it. Now, next up along here, we've got Glorious Garces Zeroed G3. So that's another one of the bikes on there, running that Pinion gearbox with the Gates carbon drive. This is a cool looking frame. Red, white and black, I actually love it. And look, they've got the 100k belted purse logos down there just to show that they are after that 100 grand under Gloria. That is pretty wild. SR Suntour suspension, Hope components on that Zeroed. Nice bit of kit. Next door to that, we're back to, well, Hattie's team. The MBUK Segu is found under Aeon Racing. This is a really interesting bike. So they've got Manitou Dorado, a classic fork in downhill. Love to see that. Manitou suspension in the middle, again, Pinion Gates drive, all this. But the frame is so cool. So they have these carbon plates on the down tube. They put different ones in here to adjust the stiffness of the frame and obviously keep a bit of mud out. And then they have different custom swing arms which different riders on the team and at different racetracks they'll swap in to adjust the flex of the frame. Really interesting stuff on there. I still reckon Hattie's probably in with the best chance of winning that 100k. The first elite racer, male or female, to win a World Cup downhill on a Gates belt drive bike wins 100,000 euros. That is why there's so much interest in the sport this year. That's that bike. Next up, okay, it's the Intense M1 prototype bike, Joe Breeden. Now, I just spent a couple of minutes chatting to Joe Breeden about his bike, so let's cut straight to that. Joe, you're going to show us a few bits and pieces on your bike because it's pretty interesting, so I'll hand you the mic.
Yeah, my pleasure, my pleasure. I'm a very, very fortunate rider. I've been dreaming of riding a Gearbox belt bike for quite a few years now. So to be with a company like Intense that has the capabilities to actually design and make one in a reasonable time frame is incredible. So this is a bike that's hand-welded by Jeff in Temecula, California at Intense HQ. Sent him all my numbers for geometry, sizing and everything. To be honest, it's the same as the stock M1. I've just gone a little bit longer on the front end, but all the head angle, BB height, everything else is the same. A few little special things. We can start off on the shock. We've got an EXT shock and we've got a very, very proto lockout shifter. It's not quite electronic yet, but it's early stages of having some sort of locking system for the shock when you've got a long pedal or a pumping section, say like the Leogang motorway. If we look elsewhere on the bike, sorry, coming back up to the stem, we've got a TMD rim pack mass damper. I run the softer spring in there currently, which seems to work really well. We've got, the new 50mm Rise V2 one-up handlebars, which I love. Just the vibration damping on these bars is incredible. Lewis brakes, which we've been on the last couple of years. I'm a massive fan. As you said, we've got the Pinion gearbox in there. I'm actually currently running a 12-speed gearbox inside there, just to give me some nice close ratios so I can always have every single gear I want. Rear hub, we've got E13 Sidekick hub. We don't actually need it for the pedal kickback on this bike. The gearbox has quite a bit of float of engagement, so it acts as, say, an O-chain or a disengaging hub. The reason we run it is for less drag on the pulls, so we can just save those tenths of a second when we're rolling. So that's the main reason. We've been part of that development of that hub and love it. We've got Crank Brother carbon rims. I'm still running the carbon rims, big fan. And I don't know, there's nothing too special. The EXT Via forks, obviously upside down forks at the World Cup scene, is pretty new, at least in recent years. But I'm obsessed with the characteristics of this. You get really good compliance, really good comfort, and the front end grip is just sensational. So I'm sold. I was, always a little bit nervous when you try something new, but very sold on the upside down fork. And the sliding bush we can't forget. There's a super smooth movement throughout the whole of the travel on these forks. Bar ends, yeah. Very much a prototype. I ran them all last year as a full circle. This year we're running them as a half circle because you only really push into them. The theory is that when you hit any compressions or you pull the brakes on, naturally your arms try to spin out like that. They don't because you subconsciously hold on tighter. But in this case, in those cases you can just stay relaxed on the grip. Your hands push into the side of the bar, not off the bar, and you can have a less fatigued arm, hands by the bottom of the run. You can buy them. But yeah, it's a dream bike, and I'm excited for this constant development of gearbox belt bikes on the World Cup circuit. Hopefully we can be the first team to take the 100k and really put these style of bikes on the map.
So I was just walking around, went to the fun stand, fun components, and spotted this machine. Any guesses? That's right, that is an orange. You can't really miss it, can you? With that elevated chainstay, single pivot, aluminium, handmade. This is a stereotypical orange mountain bike. This one's kind of interesting because it's an XC race bike, from what I can tell. Now it still has the strange branding down there, which basically means it's one of their prototype bikes. And I suspect this sort of bit of the swing arm isn't quite finished yet. It's quite a lot of work goes into prototyping a bike, so I imagine before it goes into production they will tidy that up. But yeah, strange orange XC bike, looks pretty cool. So on the front we've got a Fox 34 SL fork, 120mm, and I believe it is 120mm at the back with that Fox Flow SL shock. And then as you can see, we've got some seriously fast rubber on there from Schwalbe. Got the Rick XC on the back and on the front in those very fast compounds. And yeah, this one's tricked out with some fun components. It was on their stand. You've got grips and cockpit, carbon bar, and look, one of these fun things. Oop, hello. Now there aren't many aluminium XC race bikes out there, and there certainly aren't many that have a single pivot as well, so I'm very intrigued to see how this one's going to ride, but I reckon it could be pretty good. I've been riding the Lauf Elia for a little while, single pivot, carbon, and that's real good out on the trails. I've been enjoying it, so I suspect this could be pretty good, so long as they've got that pivot placement right, which no reason to suggest they haven't. That's pretty much all I know about this bike. It's exciting though, and I'm very keen to see it out in the wild. All right, so one of the brands I'm really excited to see back here at Eurobike was Nukeproof. Obviously a lot went on with the sale to BCF and the closure through Evans and all that sort of stuff, but they're back and there's some cool stuff going on. So this is a brand new reactor carbon. It's going to be 29 or it's going to be mullet. There's loads of adjustability going on down in here. That is going to be a really cool trail bike that is coming out probably in September-ish, Q4. I think the plan is to have basically one bike of every model coming out in Q4. So you're going to be thinking Reactor, Mega, Giga, Megawatt, maybe some others as well. Great to see it here. Plenty of adjustability in there, including cable routing to pop out tube through tube for European and US riders, so they don't have a bit of a mess around here. They're very keen to point out. But the one I'm really excited about is a prototype Descent carbon with a brand new rear end. So this is their downhill bike. It's the same carbon front end, but their engineer Dale had one, and when he before it was all sold to BCF, he's like, oh, I want to rebuild a downhill bike. He got some CNC stuff all like prototyped up. Then the sale happened to BCF, and they were like, yeah, go ahead. And this is the result. So it's a completely new aluminium back end built onto the existing carbon front end. Loads of lovely details in here. So for example, there's stiffness plates here in the linkage at the top, 2 in the bottom, although one's actually been removed to give a little bit more flex when he was last riding it. This beautiful non-enclosed chainstay here, which looks very cool. It's a new linkage too, so they've added a horse stay link down here on the chainstay, so moving it from a linkage actuated single pivot into, I guess, a more of a traditional 4-bar-ish, although there's quite a bit of bars up there going on with the linkage. But the reason for that was to change the anti-rise, so the effect of braking on the suspension performance. So what's happened is that the anti-rise has gone from around 120% down to 75%. And this is basically how much the braking interacts with the suspension. and reducing it means there's less interaction. And Dale was saying that he's raced this bike already 3 times, and that the new configuration just makes it that little bit smoother under braking on rough tracks to give you more control. Now, there's obviously nothing to be confirmed yet, but BCF, the Belgian cycling factory, who own brands including Eddy Merckx and Ridley, who are also now on Nukeproof, do want a World Cup team. So we might be seeing the return of the Nukeproof descent to the World Cup circuit, probably not next year, but maybe 2027. And if this happens, that is massive news. Really stoked to hear that. Just popped by the Pirelli stand and spotted Trek Top Fuel in World Cup Spec Edition. In fact, in World Champs colours, because that's Evie Richards' bike. Now, Trek don't offer the Top Fuel in a full spec XC race version. I really wish they would, because I reckon that'd be one hell of a fast bike. It is their sort of lightweight trail bike, down country bike, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, you've got Sid Lux in the middle, you've got a Sid on the front, and Pirelli's Scorpion XC-RC tyres. Nice fast rubber on there. But yeah, I think Trek should offer this as an XC build. They don't yet. I have asked them. Maybe they will one day. Because currently it's only the Super Cal, the short travel one, in their full sus roundup. But still, we know they're racing this, so let's have it, Trek. All right then, so I'm at the Giant stand, and this is a bike that's been quite tricky to get in front of because there's a lot of people looking at this. This is a prototype Giant Anthem. It's the one that actually Alan Hatherley raced at Val di Sole just the other week ago, although he's got his own version of this bike, but this does have his name on it. But yeah, this is a prototype of the next generation Anthem. Now, if you know your XC bikes and you know Giant, you'll know that usually they go with the Maestro suspension system, which is a dual link thing, but this is now a flex pivot bike. So very much similar to what you get from most other XC bikes. Single pivot, this will flex in there somewhere, little rocker drives the shock. So this is 120mm now, front and back. They're saying that there might be a downcountry version with 130mm forks coming soon. The bike will be available at the end of this year. Okay, so it has a flip chip here at the top of the shock for geometry adjust, which will take it down to 75.9 degree head angle in that low setting, which is really slack for an XC bike. Now, Giant obviously have a lot of carbon technology. They're one of the earliest adopters of carbon, but they've taken learnings from the TCR, which is one of their road race bikes. Now, they developed the 10th generation of that, came out recently. Super high-tech bike, loads of technology in there, and they've applied those learnings to the Anthem. And they're talking about things like laser cutting their carbon layers to make sure that it's as light as possible. So a lot of tech going into this, a lot of development, and we will be seeing this at the back end of this year. Pretty exciting. Now, this bike, they claim, is the lightest XC bike on the planet, pretty much. Okay, maybe the lightest large production XC bike on the planet. This one coming in at 9.7 kilos, which pretty darn light if you ask me. Other details on this, they've got a new integrated cockpit up here. That is very swish. And they're saying that when this bike is released, that cockpit will be available on all models from top down to bottom. So plenty of cool stuff coming in there. Later on this year, you'll be able to find it. Look out for that when a full release comes. All right, so I was at the Nicolai stand yesterday looking at the 30th anniversary S16 e-bike. Now, you can watch that video, it's on the channel already, but I couldn't ignore this. It's a 2001 Nicolai Nucleon DH frame that they've got hanging up here. Now, it looks pretty wild, but this wouldn't be that out of place on today's downhill race series because, well, high pivot, really far forward. You've got a secondary chain there. Obviously, there'll be the main chain down to the wheel down here. Chain guide to keep it all in place. And yes, this is a gearbox bike. Because down in there is a Rollhoff hub. Usually found on trekking bikes, 14-speed internal gear hub, hidden in the middle of this frame. Super reliable, very heavy, but does that matter? We all know that downhill riders are adding weight to their bikes. 2001 this was made. There are no new ideas in downhill or in mountain biking, full stop in fact. This is one wild machine. All right, no, I haven't shrunk. That is an absolutely massive bike. It's a downhill bike, basically, from a brand called Dirty Sixer. They're French, and they cater to people who are really tall, because if you're tall, a lot of bikes don't fit very well. So the guy who sort of started the company decided that the little bikes that he had years and years ago weren't working for him. So he went out and got a load of bikes made for himself. He's worked with the likes of V Tyre to make sure that he's got decent tyres. Good bit of knobble on that one, and that is 36 by 2.25. There you go. And yeah, So in a couple of weeks' time, well, this bike arrived this morning. A couple of weeks' time, the guy's going to go and ride the Meg Avalanche down Alpe d'Huez on this. 80 mil of travel at the back, 120 mil of travel out of these forks. So he went to Taiwan, found a vendor, they're called DNM, who make a fork for this wheel size, pretty incredibly. And look, double discs on that. 2 disc brakes at the front. I mean, if you're going to be pretty tall, you're probably going to be quite heavy. So having 2 sets of brakes at the front, why the hell not? To get 2 on the front, you've actually got to go to Cargo Bike Tech from Tektro, and these, well, look, they've got a parking brake on there. Don't think he's going to be using a parking brake on the Meg Avalanche. Another big bike brake at the back. So 197 mil hub spacing, that's from a fat bike. 100 mil bottom bracket spacing down there, and a 150 mil spaced front hub. So everything is oversized on this bike. It's quite heavy, but there's no doubt that that is one unique mountain bike, and I absolutely love it. All right then, that is the end of day 2 here at Eurobike. Those are the best bikes I can find at Eurobike. Now yesterday we did the e-bikes, you can find that on the channel. In a couple of days' time we're going to do components as well, so keep an eye out for that. I am on a long walk home, back to my hotel, because it's definitely time for a beer, maybe a pretzel too. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Comment down below if you need to. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that sort of jazz. There's going to be videos on the end screen, you should go and check those out because they're going to be loads of fun too. Hope you've had a good one. Catch you on the next one.